first of all, I can't believe he's not retired. I'm not going to lie. Because if you do what he just did, beat Drew Brees in New Orleans, beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field, and then beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that would be the greatest drop the mic ever in sports. It'd be like if somebody won a major and just quit on the spot. To beat those three guys in New Orleans, Lambeau, and Pat Mahomes, that to me, if he walked away right now, I'd be like, yeah, it can't get better than that. You know, that would be the greatest mic drop in the history of civilization. That's how cool that would be. I'm like, to beat those three guys and walk away on number 7, that would be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Talk that much. Tom Brady adding to his ring count yesterday only extends the lead over the all-time Super Bowl quarterbacks. He now has more Super Bowl MVPs than Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw have rings. He has more Super Bowl rings than any franchise, forget players. So tell me this, did Brady prove he's the greatest of all time in team sports, Ryan?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I'm a Michael Jordan guy, but I believe he has. And I believe he has because the difficulty of winning this championship, to be more involved in a championship at 43 than you were at 24, to actually put this team together. Let's think about this team and what we said they were going to be coming into the season. We thought no risk it, no biscuit. We thought we'd see Chris Godwin, we'd see Mike Evans have these ultimate all-pro Pro Bowl years, that he would push the ball down the field at an enormous rate and that he wouldn't turn the ball over. That's what we expected. But think about how this team won the game. The 3 people that score touchdowns for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't Tampa Bay Buccaneers before Tom Brady is there. One of those guys, AB, definitely doesn't come if Tom Brady isn't there because Bruce Arians didn't want him. Tom Brady believed in him. Rob Gronkowski is only there because he came out of retirement to play with Tom Brady now that he was no longer in New England. And Leonard Fournette, who I trained with throughout the offseason, went there because Tom Brady was the quarterback. So not only is he a great player, not only is he the greatest player of all time, the greatest winner of all time, this year he became the greatest GM all time. And then also Bruce Arians said, you know what? In New England, they wouldn't let Tom coach. Sometimes I just sit back and allow him to coach. So let's think about what this team was last night. This team was a run, play action team. You know who that fit? That fit Tom Brady. That fit what Tom Brady could do. That meshed well with what Tom Brady could work with his weapons. And now we see the result. We see the result of a team morphing into something it had to be in order to let Tom Brady and the team play at its highest level. We used to give Josh McDaniels so much credit for what they could do in New England week to week offensively. But we're not going to give Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich that same credit, that they've changed 100% or done a total 180 from not only who they were last year, but who they were at the beginning of the season. You're not going to give Tom Brady credit for understanding that, you know what? We got to move differently. And in order to move differently, I have to change some things. I have to mesh with Byron Leftwich in a way that we say, if we get here, we can win a championship. And the last thing is this. Tom Brady texted all the players on Tampa Bay's team around 11 o'clock every night saying, we will win. That's leadership. That's belief. That's taking the team that hasn't been to the playoff in 13 years and beating Drew Brees in New Orleans, beating Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, and then playing Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl and dominating. Tom Brady proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't all about Bill Belichick, that it wasn't all about the Patriot way, that me, Tom Brady, I had a ton to do with the success in New England, and I'll show you how. I'll go to a new place. I won't have an offseason. I'll change the team. I'll change the roster, and I'll change their fortunes. Tom Brady is the greatest player in team sports.
Well, I could put it more succinctly than that, Ryan Clark. Tom Brady's a better GM than Bill Belichick. You can actually make that argument today. You can actually make that argument today. Yeah, you can make that argument today. He's a better general. In 1 year, he proved he's a better GM than Bill Belichick, because while Bill Belichick is looking for weapons, Tom Brady was highlighting we didn't have any, and it was making me look bad, and you wanted me gone, and you wanted to keep Jimmy G, when he was Jimmy Garoppolo. You let go of Jacoby Brissett. You brought in Cam Newton. You thought that all of these things would be answers. You got N'Keal Harry instead of DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. You got Sony Michel, who's nothing to sneeze at, instead of Damian Harris. You're looking at an abundance of things. But I also will point to last night's Super Bowl and say this. If I told you coming into the game that Mike Evans would have one catch for 31 yards and Chris Godwin, would have 2 receptions for 9 yards, are you picking Tampa Bay to win this game?
Nope.
No way in hell.
They got killed.
And so not only did he win the game, but he won the game with Gronkowski shining. Gronkowski, a guy who literally was talking and had tears coming in his eyes and was shivering on a stage one day talking about, you have no idea what I've been through. And physically, emotionally, he didn't have it. Now, not only does he come back and play, stars in the Super Bowl, wins it after only having 2 receptions in the entire postseason, wins it, but also is excited about coming back to play next year. He went from being finished to being a champion and excited about literally, because he can retire too now.
I know,
but he said, no, I'm not going to retire. Okay, Antonio Brown, has anybody, you're a former teammate of this man. We know Antonio Brown's history. We get it. Has anyone ever saw him as humbled as he was yesterday in expressing his gratitude to Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that for a second. Antonio Brown. Yep. You understand? Law enforcement officials sitting there calling him out and video it. You understand? Acting a fool on social media and all of this other stuff. It throws away. All you have to do is shut up. How many days, man?
By the way, Brady.
4 days. Hold on. 4 days. Shut up and you're pocket $29 million. Just shut up for 4 days. He couldn't do it. And he goes from that to being a champion with his head down, holding back tears because of how grateful he is to Tom Brady. And we sit around all the time when we talk about the NFL and we talk about the importance of leadership. And one of the greatest champions this sport has ever known, and Bill Belichick, ignored the champion and leader that he had in the end in Tom Brady. I mean, that's a story, man.
Look, and
that's a story.
Brady didn't hold it against him that he could have been mad at Antonio Brown for embarrassing him in a sense in New England. Mm-hmm. All right, let me just say this. Brady's on a very short list. And let me just go through it quickly because we say he's the greatest in team sports history. No one ever talks about this in baseball. Yogi Berra was the catcher on the Yankees, won 10 World Series, caught the pitching staff. Every pitcher that came to the Yankees got better because Berra was calling the games. He won 3 MVPs and hit cleanup on those teams, all right? Yogi Berra is forgotten about, but he's certainly on a very short list of the greatest winners. Bill Russell, in his lifetime, amateur and professional, in deciding games was 21-0. So he won all those championships, 21-0. When it comes to a deciding game, a game 7, the 2 teams are evenly matched. Who has the best player on the floor? Isn't Wilt Chamberlain? Okay, but Bill Russell will give you 30 points and 40 boards. He's on a very short list. Obviously, Kareem. 3 championships in college, 6 in the pros. And clearly Brady is on that list now. But to me, guys, if you really want to talk about it, it may be boring, but the GOAT in team sports is still Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, whenever he was given a chance, whenever he was on a team with at least one other all-star, basically, he won the championship in under 7 games. Except for Scottie Pippen's first year as an all-star, where he was still pre-prime, but he'd made an all-star game, had a migraine in a game 7, so once again, Jordan was out an all-star. Pippen scored 2 points in 40 minutes. They lost barely game 7 to the defending champs. And once when he came back, played 17 games, wasn't in basketball shape. But every time realistically Jordan was in a position to win, he won in under 7 games. It was 6-0 with 6 knockouts. And the only thing I'll say about the winner thing, the reason Jordan's brand is what it is, was not only the eyeball test. Oh my God, we just haven't seen that. But his brand was synonymous with winning. It's the reason his sneakers still outsell LeBron's 5 or 10 to 1. If you did a poll on planet Earth, last shot or last possession of any game, it's coming down to the wire, right? The fate of the universe is on the line. Jordan would win that vote in a landslide. The answer is still Michael Jordan. Brady is on a short list, but at the top of the list.
Even though he has 6 and Brady has 7?
He's a better older athlete than Jordan. He's still great, and Jordan wasn't at 43.
Yeah, so I think the numbers of championships actually don't matter to me. And I agree with a lot of what you said about Michael Jordan. You know, we've had this conversation many a time, Max. It's this championship that changes things for me with Tom Brady. It's not being with Bill Belichick. It's not having an offseason. It's being in a new place that really runs the organization in a different way than you are. It's when your owner gets an opportunity to hold the Lombardi and the first person he thinks is you, right? He said, thank you for teaching us the way. And that's what Tom Brady brought to Tampa Bay that they didn't have. And now, maybe Michael Jordan, if he chooses to go somewhere after that 6th championship in Chicago and he has an opportunity to play that year, I wouldn't have bet money on anyone else to win that championship. But he didn't get an opportunity to do that. He didn't make that decision. And so if we're just talking about the greatest winner in team sports, because the thing that Michael Jordan could do, because there's only 5 guys, you can affect the game in so many different ways, right? You know, you can control what happens defensively for a large part. You definitely can control what happens when your team has the ball. But for Tom Brady to infect this entire team, right, to affect the entire organization,
if you say greatest leader, I might agree. If we changed it to leader, I might agree, because all your points you're making are really about leadership, and Brady could win that argument.
Leadership is about winning as well. And remember this. When Peyton Manning won his 2nd championship in Denver, he was carried to a championship. That was about the no-fly zone. That was about the rush. Tom Brady was one of the best players on this team. Tom Brady was a guy that carried this team through the journey. And so when you look at that type of play, that type of leadership, that type of will, it was truly amazing what he did, and that's why I put him on the top of greatest winners in team sports.
Max, can I ask you this quickly? Do you think Mahomes can still ever become the GOAT?
It's very unlikely because he just lost to Brady head up. But as Stephen A. said, he thinks it's better than 50-50. They meet again next year. And if they do and Mahomes wins and let's say winds up with 5 Super Bowls, with a long way to go, a lot of assumption. If he does, then I think we'll look at it and say, They evened that out, and Mahomes really did have a very good excuse in this one with the O-line and everything. And the peak that Mahomes is playing on is just different from everyone else. So I think while it's a long shot, it's not impossible.
I think Mahomes is going to win at least 2 more Super Bowls in his career. I don't think he's going to win 6. And more importantly, he's not going to be undefeated in Super Bowl appearances because he just lost to Tom Brady. That will be the indelible blemish on his resume when you're looking at it. Everybody will recall it, and as a result, that will prevent him from being celebrated as the GOAT. He'd be great. He'll be a Hall of Famer, but he won't be that.
RC, there's no Eli Mannings on Jordan's resume. Like, he was outplayed in a couple Super Bowls by the guy on the other side. That happened.
I will say this. Here's the hard thing for Patrick Mahomes. He's lost 2 playoff games. Both of those games are to Tom Brady. And you can have reasons for losing them. You have a guy line up off sides. Obviously, you don't have both of your tackles in this game. But when you've won your other 6 playoff games and the 2 losses are to Tom Brady, and we're not talking about prime Tom Brady. We're talking about 40-plus Tom Brady. I just think that makes it impossible to catch him or to ever be seen as greater than
him. In Coming to America Part 3, set in the future.
Coming to America Part 2 is coming on
Arsenio Hall's not going to want to hear about the excuses. He knows Tom Brady whooped his you-know-what.
Real quick, we had 26,000 votes. 70% said that Tom Brady is a greater winner than MJ. I was surprised by that. Guys, my biggest takeaways, age is just a number. 40 is the new 30. I need all the TB12 products. We all do. No shade vegetables. And Max, I want